She had the voice, the deal, the heat. In 1996, Ericka Yancey was right there, on the edge of R&B stardom, backed by RCA Records, working with A-list producers and ready to drop her debut album until she vanished. No farewell, no public fallout, just silence. Cut 2, RCA building in shadows, blurred figures in a boardroom, a shelved stamp slamming on an album cover. The label shelved her project, buried her buzz, and moved on like she never existed. But behind the scenes, there were whispers of industry beef, label betrayal, secret ghostwriting deals, and a possible blackballing no one wanted to talk about. So why was Ericka Yancey really erased? What didn't the industry want you to hear? And is she still out there, writing hits you don't even know she touched? This is the story of the forgotten voice of 90s R&B, and the machine that made sure you'd forget her. The 1990s were R&B's golden era. Platinum albums, packed tours, radio domination. If you were a young black woman with a voice, labels were signing you left and right. But what they gave with one hand, they took away with the other. Ericka Yancey signed to RCA in 1996 with a soulful, mature voice that could have stood next to Brandy or Monica, but she didn't have a major PR machine, no Cosby Show reruns, no Destiny's Child cosign. Her debut single made it onto Billboard, her follow-up dropped, her full-length album was pressed, finished, ready to go. And then, nothing. The album never hit stores, her name vanished from RCA's roster, and to this day, most fans never knew she existed. But behind the scenes, she was working with top artists, leaking songs on MySpace, and maybe, just maybe, ghostwriting hits for names you do know. This isn't just a lost album story. This is about what happens when a woman in the music industry refuses to play by their rules, when she pushes for control, demands credit, and says no to exploitation. What happens to those women? Let's talk about what really happened to Ericka Yancey. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Not exactly the place you expect to find the next R&B star in the 90s, but that's where Ericka Yancey came up. No major cosign, no famous parents, no child star background. Just a girl with a voice that sounded like honey and heartbreak rolled into one. By 1996, Ericka had done what most aspiring artists only dream about. She landed a deal with RCA Records. Not a small label, not a one-off indie, a major label. The same label that had pushed legends, and now they had her. Her debut single, So Good, dropped that year. And guess what? It didn't flop. It actually charted, hitting number 47 on the Billboard Hot R&B Singles chart and sticking around for 12 straight weeks. That's more than some of today's viral hits last. It was smooth, grown, and felt like it belonged on every Quiet Storm playlist in the country. But here's the thing. This was 1996. The R&B scene was stacked. You had Brandy, already a household name, Aaliyah rising with Timbaland, Mia, Monica, Destiny's Child right around the corner. The industry had room for some girls, but not all of them. And let's be honest, labels weren't always subtle about who they bet on and who they let fizzle out. The playing field wasn't level. Talent was only one part of the equation. You needed a look, a brand, a publicist who knew the right radio guys. If you were a dark-skinned woman pushing for creative control, you were automatically labeled difficult. Still, Ericka kept pushing. Her second single, Wait a Minute, came out later that year. It didn't do as well. Peaked at number 93, barely stayed on the charts. And that, right there, was all RCA needed to pull the rug out. Internally, execs decided she wasn't going to be their next big thing. No big announcement, no warning, just nothing. Her debut album, already finished, fully recorded, mixed, pressed. It was supposed to drop in 1997, but it never did. The only proof it ever existed? A few promo copies that leaked onto Amazon between 1999 and 2000. They're collector's items now, rare glimpses into what could have been a defining R&B record. This is where Ericka's story stops being about charts and starts being about control, image, and what happens when an artist doesn't play by the industry's script. Ericka's debut album was never a work in progress. It wasn't coming soon. It was done. A full-length RCA-backed album with soulful tracks like All in All, Moving On, and If Only. Her vocals were sharp. The production was polished, and the whole thing felt like it was built to slide effortlessly into that golden era of R&B. The album was supposed to drop in 1997, but it didn't. RCA hit the brakes and hit them hard. Officially, they blamed the lackluster performance of Wait a Minute. Unofficially, the conversations behind closed doors were a lot messier. At the time, RCA was going through corporate chaos. There were internal shakeups, label mergers, shifting priorities, and a bloated roster full of artists fighting for attention. When money got tight, decisions got ruthless. And Ericka, she didn't have a cosign. She didn't have a big-name manager. She didn't have a buzzworthy feature with a male rapper who could push her onto radio. All she had was a solid album. And in that era, that wasn't enough. But here's what really raises eyebrows. Promotional copies of the album still made it out. Somehow, between 1999 and 2000, a handful of those CDs started surfacing on Amazon. Not bootlegs, not leaks. Official promo copies with RCA branding and full liner notes. That means RCA printed them, pressed them, packaged them, and then shelved it all anyway. It's the kind of quiet burial labels specialize in. No scandal, no public drama. They didn't trash her in the press or announce she'd been dropped. They just moved on, gave her the corporate cold shoulder, and redirected the promo budget to someone else. Some say she was just a casualty of bad timing. Others believe she was deliberately pushed aside to make room for artists who fit the look RCA wanted to bet on. Lighter skin, pop appeal, easier to market. It wasn't said outright, but it didn't have to be. In an industry where image often trumps talent, decisions like this don't need explanations. They're made quietly, and they're final. But Ericka didn't fade away. Not completely. And what came next showed she wasn't just going to sit quietly while the industry forgot her. When an artist disappears this fast, people love to call it a flop. Wrong. Ericka didn't vanish because she wasn't talented. She vanished because the industry made a decision. After RCA quietly shelved her album, she didn't go on a Twitter rant. She didn't run to the press. She just kept working, but not where most people were looking. From the late 90s into the early 2000s, Ericka pivoted behind the scenes. She started writing, producing, and providing background vocals for other artists. And not just anyone. Victoria Beckham. Yes, Posh Spice herself during her brief R&B era. Macy Gray and Brownstone, one of the most respected R&B vocal groups of the 90s. That means one thing. Her talent was still in demand. She was trusted in studios. She had the respect of other artists. She wasn't washed. She was still active. But suddenly, no one in the major label system wanted to push her as a solo act. And that's when the rumors started. There's been long-standing talk that Ericka got labeled difficult behind closed doors. Not because she was unprofessional, but because she wanted control over her sound, her songwriting credits, her image. She didn't want to be molded into another hypersexualized R&B archetype. She didn't want to be told what to wear or who to perform with. In the late 90s, that was enough to end your career before it even started. Difficult was industry code for she won't play the game. And once that word got around, it was a wrap. You wouldn't get blacklisted in public. You'd just find out no one was taking meetings. Calls wouldn't be returned. Deals wouldn't close. You'd still be in the industry, just nowhere near the spotlight. Some insiders believe Ericka was quietly blackballed, not banned, just blacked out, left to float in the background while newer, more compliant faces were handed the careers she could have had. And here's the kicker. Despite her skills, she never got another major label deal. Not once. Not even a featured verse to reintroduce her. No radio push, no buzz, just silence. As if RCA's decision followed her from boardroom to boardroom like a quiet warning. Don't touch this one. Which leads to an even bigger question. Was Ericka Yancey punished for wanting too much control over her own voice? Because what came next proves she wasn't done fighting, not by a long shot. By the mid-2000s, the music industry was shifting. The internet was breaking down barriers. Artists no longer needed radio payola or label gatekeepers to reach fans. They needed Wi-Fi and a MySpace account. And Ericka, she saw the wave coming. In 2007, a full decade after her debut album had been shelved, she resurfaced, this time under an independent label. Not RCA, not a subsidiary. This was a fresh start, a clean slate, and for the first time, she had creative freedom. She began working on a new album, and in 2008, she dropped 2 buzz singles on MySpace. One Day, Sugarcoat. And just like that, the people who remembered her started paying attention again. Her voice? Still sharp, still buttery, still hers. But this wasn't a nostalgic comeback. These tracks felt modern, emotional, and grown. They didn't sound like someone chasing trends. They sounded like someone reclaiming a story that had been taken from her. Fans started asking, is this the Ericka Yancey from RCA? Yep, same woman, same voice, finally telling her story on her terms. The album was set for release in late 2008, then pushed to early 2009. Independent R&B fans were waiting. MySpace traffic was buzzing. For once it looked like the industry couldn't stop her. But then, it happened again. Silence. No album, no tour, no press run, just another promising release that evaporated without explanation. What happened? The indie label she was signed to folded? Financial issues? Restructuring? Whatever excuse they offered behind closed doors, the result was the same. Ericka's music was shelved for a second time. 2 decades, 2 album rollouts, 2 cancellations. And let's be clear, this wasn't just bad luck. This was structural. This was an artist trying to play by her own rules in a system built to punish independence. When major labels shelve you, they bury you quietly. When indie labels collapse, they take all your momentum down with them. Either way, the result is the same. Your voice disappears. But Ericka didn't lose fans. She lost visibility. Her MySpace page faded along with the platform. Her buzz dried up without promo dollars behind it. And once again, she was left standing in the shadows of an industry that knew exactly how to silence someone without saying a word. And this time, it looked like she might be done for good. Or maybe not. Because right around this time, a strange rumor started circulating in niche music forums and songwriter circles, one that hinted Ericka had never really left the industry at all. When an artist disappears once, people call it bad luck. When it happens twice, it starts to look like a pattern. But when fans start hearing your voice, your style, in other people's songs, that's when the whispers turn into full-blown rumors. And in Ericka Yancey's case, those whispers have been circulating for over a decade. Around 2010, just after her MySpace comeback attempt fizzled out, rumblings started in R&B forums and songwriting circles. A few music insiders, never naming names, hinted that Ericka hadn't quit music at all. She had simply gone ghost. Not ghost as in disappeared. Ghost as in ghostwriter. According to these whispers, Ericka had inked a private deal, possibly tied to a strict NDA, to write and demo songs for bigger artists, without public credit. If that sounds shady, it's because it is. But it's also standard practice in the industry, especially for women. If you've ever wondered why certain tracks feel like they came from the same emotional DNA, same tone, same pen, same pain, it's probably because they did. You just never saw the real name behind them. And Ericka? She had the voice and writing chops to do it all. She wasn't just a singer. She had been credited as a songwriter and vocal arranger since her time working with artists like Macy Gray and Brownstone. She knew how to structure a song, how to hit those emotional triggers, how to make someone else's voice sound like magic. According to one anonymous source quoted in an old music blog comment section, yeah, we dug deep. Ericka allegedly helped shape at least 3 radio singles in the early 2000s for artists signed to major labels. Songs that charted, songs you'd know, songs she may have been paid for, but never credited. The theory? She was offered a behind-the-scenes deal with strict confidentiality clauses. Write the songs, record the demos, get paid, stay quiet. Why would she agree to that? Because after being shelved by a major label and abandoned by an indie one, the promise of a check without the politics probably sounded like freedom. No public scrutiny, no marketing games, just the work, the art, the money, but that freedom comes with a cost. Erasure. When you ghostwrite under an NDA, you can't claim your work. You can't build a brand. You can't tour on it. You can't even hint that it's yours. And in Ericka's case, it meant her voice might have been echoing through the charts without anyone knowing it was her. There's never been concrete proof, no leaked contracts, no verified credits, just small breadcrumbs, writing styles, anonymous tips, and that deep fan instinct that says, this sounds like Ericka. Even more curious? Every time fans tried to track her down for a feature, an interview, a revival, nothing. No verified social media, no press, no appearances, like she was deliberately staying in the shadows. Or maybe legally required to. And let's not forget, this wouldn't be the first time a black woman in the industry made her living by ghostwriting for bigger names who got the shine. The music business is built on this kind of invisible labor. So the question isn't, did Ericka ghostwrite? The question is, how many hits have we heard that we owe to a woman the industry tried to erase? By now, you've probably figured out this isn't just about one woman. It's about the system, the blueprint, the quiet way the industry picks its winners and silences the rest. Ericka Yancey wasn't a flop. She wasn't a one-hit wonder. She wasn't almost famous. She was a fully developed artist signed to a major label with a finished album that had the potential to carve out a lasting space in 90s R&B. But she didn't get the machine behind her. She didn't have the it girl marketing package. She had boundaries. She had standards. She had a vision for herself that didn't fit the mold, and in an industry obsessed with control, that made her a liability. So they buried the album. They rerouted her momentum. They whispered just enough behind her back to make sure the next label didn't call, and when she tried to come back on her own terms, with her own music, they let her fail quietly. No headlines, no press, just another name that slowly faded out of public memory. But here's the part that cuts deeper. Ericka's story isn't unique. She's one of many Black women in the music industry who had the talent, the voice, the vision, but didn't get the protection, didn't get the push, didn't get the second chance. And while some artists get comeback arcs and documentaries, others get swept under the rug like they were never even there. Yet somehow, Ericka's music still lives. Those rare promo copies of her Shelved debut, they still circulate online like collector's gold. Her MySpace singles, archived, re-uploaded, passed around by true fans who never forgot. She may have been silenced publicly, but in the shadows, people still talk, still wonder, still feel like the industry owes her something. And maybe they do, because Ericka's story forces us to ask the uncomfortable question. How many incredible artists have we never heard? Not because they weren't good enough, but because they refused to play by the industry's twisted rules. How many ghostwriters have bled into songs they'll never get credit for? How many Black women have been told, in 1,000 subtle ways, "You're too much, you don't fit," or "We already have one of you"? And how many of them, like Ericka, quietly decided, "Fine, I'll take my pen, my voice, and my genius somewhere else, even if you never know it's mine"? Ericka Yancey didn't fade. She was faded out, erased by a machine that didn't want her kind of fire. But fire doesn't just go out. It waits, it smolders, it reemerges when the time is right. So if you're watching this and you remember her, if you ever played So Good on repeat or found that unreleased album buried in the crates, drop a comment. Say her name. Because the industry may have silenced her, but that doesn't mean we have to. Ericka Yancey deserved better, and it's time we start saying that out loud. Like this video if you believe hidden voices deserve to be heard. Subscribe for more untold music stories, label conspiracies, and deep dives into the artists they tried to make us forget. And comment below, what other artists do you think got erased by the industry?